Rick and Morty Season 8 is coming out this month, and I just wanted to go back and look at some episodes that I like the most. Let's kind of look through all of them, like trim through all of them, see how my memory thing, just know how I occasionally like that. I didn't really rewatch them, but I just skimmed through it to get my understanding of the episode, and then it gets, clicked in my head what the episode was about and how I enjoyed watching it at the time. And occasionally I do rewatch some episodes, like just in general, I rewatched a recent episode, which I will go on later in this video as it's on the list. But yeah, also, while going through these episodes, I just realized how many episodes are named after Rick or Morty. Like, there's some, as like the Rickle or something like that, and then there's stuff named after Morty a lot. There's so many episodes, I think, on this list that have Rick in the name or Morty in the name. No, I'm not even kidding with that. It either has Mort or Rick or whatever. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the video. I will be using images because I don't want to get copyrighted by Adult Swim, so yes, or video taken down or copyright strike. That's the reason I'm using images, so I can't really make up for that. Let's get into the video. Coming in at number 13, yes, you heard me, number 13. There's going to be 13 episodes in this video. Season 4, Episode 10, Star Mort Rick Turn on the Jerry. Also, there's going to be some episodes I cannot pronounce, so I'll just say the episode, season, and episode in that, so just be aware. This episode, I'm going to name 3 things, because I'm not going to go in the most detailed things I enjoyed with this episode. 1, we get to see Space Beth for the first time, I believe. This is the first time we actually encounter Space Beth. And she has obviously a thingy tracking or bomb, whatever, in her thing. Rick basically tries to convince her she's not the clone. And then convinces the Beth we know, the family Beth, that she is not a clone either. So basically just do that. And then they both don't really care about the answer at the end. And Rick, from what I know, he erased his memory of it. And it's obviously the multi-blown thingy. So basically he puts that in the thing, watches it. He doesn't even know because he swapped stickers around. He basically took the stickers off and then didn't even look. And I don't believe we actually know that information, who's the real Beth. But we just call her Space Beth and then Beth. And then you got Space Beth. The second thing about this episode is Tanny, I think her name is, that girl with the Galactical Federation. She dies in this episode. Great. I hated her. Literally, thingy doesn't even get any last words. Basically, Rick says, "You made me go to a wedding," shoots her in the head. I was actually so happy because she was the most annoyingest character the moment that wedding went off. Okay, and then the main bit I like about this episode is the Rick versus Bird Person. Bird Person has been turned into a cyborg. So Rick versus Bird Person, and it was a really cool fight scene. Basically, by the end of this episode, Rick has Bird Person in his garage, and Rick finally realizes he's a bad father, and that's kind of where the episode ends on. A great episode, so I thought it had to be included in this list, so I put it last, number 13, and because Space Beth is one of the GOAT characters in Rick and Morty, and honestly, Bird Person is also such a great character. And I love how Rick finally realizing he isn't really the best of a father. So yes, that's why it's number 13. Now, I don't know how to say his name exactly, but coming in at number 12, Season 6, Episode 5, Final Decimation? I could be off. It'll be obviously spelled out so you can read it out yourself. But either way, in this episode, honestly, when I watched this episode, it was such a great episode, and I enjoyed every last minute of it. Season 6, probably one of the better episodes in Season 6, personally. Basically, in this episode, we got Jerry. He ends up having a fortune cookie. And honestly, fortune cookies are really good. I barely have them, but when you do get a fortune cookie for your food, it's so great, in my opinion. So basically, Jerry's fortune is that he will do it with his mother. Yes, I know that's the whole plot of this episode. Basically, these fortunes, majority of everyone's fortunes are real, they actually come true and all that. There's a fate kind of thing. Rick and everyone ends up laughing at him for being worried about it. And then Rick actually ends up discovering that it's actually, in fact, true. Also, these fortunes, if your fortunes are resolved, it makes you basically immortal. And then Rick also has this whole like thing where he fights these like Panda Expresses people, and there was also a sick fight scene and all that with Rick going absolutely insane for it. And then then there's a bunch of fortune like battles with like people having incredible powers because their fortune says so. Fortune says they can get powers. Fortune says they have great luck in a fight. It's basically random fortunes that are like super overpowered. Like I said, if you have an unresolved fortune, you're basically immortal. So yes, this whole episode is really great. By the end of the episode, Rick and Morty, no, Jerry and Rick kind of are a bit closer. And then Jerry calls Rick a friend, which Rick had a fortune, you would make a new friend, which made him basically immortal until he made a new friend, which knowing Rick, he doesn't really make friends often. So Jerry basically made him immortal again because his unresolved fortune was, resolved. Yeah, all in all, I think this is probably one of Jerry's better episodes. Jerry's episodes are always either a hit or miss for me. Like, a lot of them are decent and really nice to watch through, but a lot of them are also like, a miss for me. But yeah, a great episode all in all. That's why it's number 12. Coming in at number 11 is Season 1, Episode 10, Close Rick Counters of the Rick Kind. The first time we actually know there's multiple Ricks. Personally, I think Rick and Morty does the kind of like, the multiple people kind of different dimensions and all that really well. They don't always focus on it. When they do, it's just kind of like, oh, another Rick, bang, dead. Simple and easy. It doesn't really overcomplicate things, which I really do like. In this episode, basically, Rick just ends up being framed, and the council of Rick brings him in for questioning, and then Rick runs away to find out who's framing him. He finds this Rick. At the end of this episode, this Rick isn't who he seems he is by the end of the episode. And while the Ricks are discovering it, it is revealed that he is being controlled by someone else. And then at the end of the episode, we see the Morty he was with his eye patch, and the Morty was controlling him. Later on, we do learn this is going to be one of the main antagonists, evil Morty, what they so say. And the side part of this episode is a doofus Rick with basically Jerry, and they kind of hang out because Rick is basically the Jerry of Rick's, I guess. I believe that was a comic on like Doofus's Rick's universe where Jerry is like a Rick, and it is super like he is the most powerful Jerry in the thing, even better than and stronger than the Ricks. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that did happen. But all in all, this was a great episode, and yeah, I had to put it at number 11 just because of the fact that it's the first time we see multiple Ricks and the counter of Ricks, which at the time when this first came out was, thingy. I feel like they did it really good. They do it better than most things with them, multiple people, different dimensions, different realities, and all that. The multiverse, I guess. Okay, now, coming at number 10 is Season 5, Episode 8, Rick Eternal Friendship of the Spotless Mort. This episode, I'm just going to quickly go over a review of this episode really quick and why it's number 10. Basically, I love Bird Person as a thing, and his relationship with Rick. Basically, we go through their memories a bunch of times, and then even his past memory self kind of hates Bird Person for the way he talks to Rick. But Rick obviously is coming into Bird Person's memory to save him. Bird Person refuses to come with him no matter what because he wants to die, especially with Tammy by his side. In his head is literally the last thing we see of Tammy, I believe. I don't even know if that's her actual name or if that's what Bird Person calls her, but either way, yeah, basically that's kind of the episode. And the reason Bird Person agrees to go back because Rick tells him that he has a daughter. And at the end of the episode, we see his daughter in kind of like a captive prison after the escape. I'm assuming he ends up going to get them back. I actually forgot, to be honest. I think I remember an episode where he has his daughter, so yes, it's just something I can't remember off the spot of my head. But Bird Person and Rick's relationship has always been one of the best bits about, Rick friendships, in my opinion. He's like, Bird Person and Rick's are like the best friends. That's like the reason, obviously, Rick wants to say Bird Person the most of all. I'm a, I'm assuming like I don't really know how like the dimension stuff works even now. Like I don't know if he's met multiple bird persons or if this is like the original bird person. I believe it is, considering he uses the portal gun to go to him. But I'm assuming there's more bird persons that Rick probably knows. I don't really know. I'm not even gonna try and say this name, but coming in at number 9 is season 5, episode 2. The name will be obviously on the screen. I can't say that, and I'm not even gonna try to pronounce it. Basically, in this episode, we got a bunch of clones. This is honestly one of the most episodes of Rick and Morty that actually messed with my mind. That's why it's on this list in general. It just messed with my mind. First, we see Rick and Morty, they get killed. Then the Rick and Morty we see next gets killed. Basically, the whole episode is just them killing each other. And I think by the end of the episode, we do eventually find out the actual Rick family, which is because they have space breath and in space. But yeah, that might even be decoys. We really couldn't know. But either way, this whole episode, like there's a couple times I'm like, okay, this person could be the real Rick. Then we got a decent bit of screen time. Dead. It messed with my mind a lot. That's the reason this episode's on this list, okay? Coming in at number 8, season 4, episode 6, Never Stop Wrecking Morty. Basically, in this episode, we get like this toy train episode where like, you know, everyone in this like story train basically has a vengeance or just has something against Rick and all that. And basically there's also a bunch of episodes. There's this one scene, but I see even till this day, like if you look up like probably any Rick and Morty AMV, you know, like tributes or whatever, you'll see like Rick and Morty with like, you know, that whole thing where you got Evil Morty, the Seeks, and whatever that monster is next to them. I see that till this day. But honestly, this episode, I remember watching it back in the day. I remember like this episode just screams a Rick and Morty adventure, even if the Rick and Morty in this episode are basically imaginary and all that, and you know, not real Rick and Morty, and we only see them at the end. It still screams a Rick and Morty adventure, so I had to include it, even if I didn't enjoy it. And even now, I'll sometimes occasionally watch back certain clips of this episode because of how much like it's really good. We even get Jesus Christ in this episode. By the way, these two characters, like Story Lord and Jesus Christ, do come back, and I believe the episode they do come back in is on this list. So yeah, stay watching because I believe it's on this list. I believe I put it on this list because that episode was also amazing. Actually, it might not be that episode. It might, because I believe they were two-parters. I don't know if they're part of the same episode. I'll have to see. Coming in at number 7 is season 5, episode 10, Rick Mule Jack. Basically, in this episode, I'm just going to talk about the Evil Morty stuff and the stuff that's around that. Evil Morty in this episode, this is an episode I absolutely like, you know, loved Evil Morty in. Probably one of my best Evil Morty episodes. Probably only second to the episode where he teams up with Rick to defeat Rick Prime. But anyway, we get his motivation for hatred of Rick and, you know, all of that good stuff. He basically takes the Citadel and kills a bunch of Rick. I don't understand when everyone saw, like, each Rick saw another, like, Paul kill the other Rick next to them or Morty next to them. And their response is to portal away. I mean, not everyone did it, but majority Ricks. And for someone considering to be the smartest man, a lot of Ricks seem very dumb in comprehension to our Rick. But, yeah. Basically, in this episode, Morty has a whole thing. We get a whole backstory of Rick and him hunting, basically, Rick Prime. Him, like, losing his wife and going on a whole hunt. This was the first time I think we actually saw Rick's backstory. Because Morty couldn't wait, he just put it into his head. So Morty personally saw it. We saw it through the eyes of what Morty was seeing. And Rick was basically just hunting Rick Prime, killing Ricks. He even created the Citadel in order to hunt down Rick Prime. And yeah, and then also at the end of the episode, our evil Morty ends up leaving the Rick thing, the sunlight curve or whatever, the curve. Basically, even we ends up leaving that, and that's outside the Rick stuff. Basically, the sunlight curve. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's where Rick isn't the smartest man alive. So basically, other people can prevent Paul travel and stuff like that. He basically leaves the Rick smartest place alive that kind of balances the universe, it seems, into just thing. And his golden pool at the end of the episode is so great. Like, honestly, the first time we see a different pool tour, I think, it is so great seeing Gold Pool version of Rick's pool, and he ends up leaving. The episode honestly was so great watching it. I remember everyone made theories on the Gold Pool and all that. It was like a big talk around. Even Morty is one of the best antagonists of Rick and Morty. I don't want to hear anything. Rick Prime is a close second, but well, Evil Morty is just next level. That's the reason this is number 7. Coming in at number 6, episode number 6 is season 6, episode 1, Solo Ricks. Now, this obviously episode just misses the top 5, but it's also a good all-round episode. Basically, at the end, Rick resets portal travel or whatever, but instead of doing portal travel, he can reset portal travelers. And then basically every Rick and every Morty, or every Rick, anyone who's not in their like original universe gets sent back to their original universe. So we can see Rick. I think it wasn't confirmed whether he was like Morty's Rick or not, but he gets sent back to his original universe. The one, his stuff gets destroyed. It may not be confirmed before this. I actually can't remember. But basically, he's also, here we find out, he basically kept his universe in a time loop of like the same day. Like, that literally is wild. And his like dead wife is like, his whole house has his dead wife's voice. And then in Morty's universe, we see the Cronenberg universe, which we already knew about. And we also find out that universe is Rick's Prime's actual universe. So yes, there's all the Rick Prime thing. And that universe is Rick Prime's original universe, which is Morty's Rick. Morty is Rick Prime's Morty. So that's the reason Rick stayed in that universe. He wanted to wait until Rick Prime returned. Then he realized Rick Prime doesn't really care about anything other than himself. And then we'll see Jerry at the end, him in his season 2 house. The Jerry Boree, if you guys remember from season 2. Basically, yeah, a lot of people had theories on that. I don't know if a lot of people had theories on that, about they swapped around, and basically, also, it's been confirmed they swapped around since then. So basically, Jerry returned to a season 2 house or whatever, or universe, who's still at season 2's like timeline kind of thing. And yeah, and the episode kind of ends on Rick Prime returning to his original reality and killing Cronenberg Jerry, which, honestly, Cronenberg Jerry's been around for a long time. He's probably one of the better versions of Jerry in the actual show. He's the best version of Jerry in the actual show. Jerry has some other people in comics and stuff. Actually, may or may not go over some comics of Jerry, but he's the best Jerry in the actual show. By far. So he tried to kill Rick Prime first, and then he ends up dying. That's basically how the episode ends. And wait, forgot this. They end up going to another reality because Jerry, like season 2's Jerry, basically made the whole universe Mr. Funko or whatever, and they end up going to another dimension, killing their family, and then burying it in. So it did a full loop now. That's basically the whole episode. Honestly, a great episode. That's why it's number 6. It just misses the top 5, unfortunately. But the other episodes are all good, all great episodes, in my opinion, of course. Coming in at number 5, we have season 7, episode 5. The only thing I'll say about this episode is I feel like it was a bit too, thingy. I feel like this episode could be a bit later on. And, like, let's say it could be a 2-parter episode of them hunting Rick Prime. Even then, the fight scene with Rick Prime, like, lasted basically the whole episode. Or at least, like, fighting stuff. They could have done that. But either way, it's, like, problem people had with it, I think, was that it was, like, too quick. It's only 5 episodes in, and the rest of the episodes are just kind of normal Rick adventures. But, anyway, this episode starts with... I don't know if I said the actual name of the thing, but it'll be on screen anyway. This episode basically starts with Evil Morty's backstory. I think, I don't know about anyone else, but I think a lot of people did. caught on like relatively soon that it was Evil Morty's backstory. And then after his backstory, after he betrays Rick because he had enough of adventure, which kind of proves that any Morty is probably one step behind becoming Evil Morty. What he said in season 5, episode 10, that if you hate Rick, you were probably like thingy too. It's like that kind of just bring up that. Anyway, we got the whole Evil Morty stuff at the start of the episode. Then Rick ends up betraying him, and then we see a montage. Morty ends up betraying Rick, killing him. We see a montage of him using his body, and then we see, when Rick said, when Evil Morty's Rick basically said, come kill me, I want to die, give it all you got. He actually meant that because he was trying to kill himself in the thing because of how Evil Morty was. But yeah, then we see him outside the Sentai Curve, I think it is called. Either way, we see him outside. Basically, he returns because Rick is hunting Rick Prime, and it's actually affecting everything because of the range. He's basically tearing down the Sentai Curve to hunt a version of himself, Rick Prime. Morty gives him some tips, and then even when he gives him some tips, and then even when he's like, yeah, I'm right, he ends up not being right because he ends up failing it. Then they're trapped in this box with basically a bunch of Ricks who have lost their Diane because the Mega Weapon or Ultra Weapon, whatever it's called, basically wipes out anything that ends up if you kill one Diane with the weapon, it wipes out that all Dianes throughout all of the multiverse. I don't know if that includes outside the Sentai Curve. It could not. We would have to see. It's not 100% confirmed, I think. It probably does, if I'm being honest. But I thought it was really nice to bring that up. So I'm assuming that weapon may or may not be used in the future against some characters, just to easily get some characters rid of. Anyway, the fight scene between the Ricks, because Rick Prime basically makes them fight each other and to get that Diane back. But Rick's the most sensible one and knows Diane cannot come back, and basically try to tell them, but all the Ricks try to fight and then they end up dying. And then even Morty and Rick basically team up to create a way out of this little box thingy they have. And then they eventually end up meeting Rick Prime, and Rick Prime's like, wife guy. And then he ends up dropping the only two people to actually invent portal travel. So I'm assuming most people took the offer. Well, by took the offer, I mean found out or at least got a tip on how to make portal travel. Or Rick's Rick C137 never knew how to make portal travel before, or he made it. He didn't have any tip, any hint of, so he actually invented it his own way and all that. And he may or may not give it to other Ricks to portal travel because of the Citadel little thingy he has going on. Anyway, we get a fight scene between Rick, Evil Morty, and Morty's basically doing nothing for what I remember in the fight scene. We got a fight scene between those people, and basically at the end of this fight scene, a cool fight scene by the way, they end up killing Slow Mobius too, and it ends up just slowing down. We get a fight scene between all them people, and by the end, Morty sees Prime, he's original Rick, and then kind of shoots his finger at him, and we find out that's Evil Morty. I actually was surprised at first, I didn't really realise. But yeah, we found out that's Evil Morty. He downloads the schematics and all of that, and then Rick gets his anger out and unleashes it on him. He is furious. And at the end of the day, he feels nothing. He feels absolutely nothing. And yeah, that's kind of my whole thing on the whole episode. A good episode, that's why it's number 5. That's why it's in top 5. Definitely one of the better finales in all of Rick and Morty, in my opinion. Well, it's not a finale, it should be, but best one, conclusions of an arc at the very least. A lot of satisfying one, seeing Rick Prime get punched in the face for what he did to our Rick. But anyway, yeah, that's why it's in the top 5. Coming in at number 4 is Season 3, Episode 1, The Rick Shank Redemption. Basically, this is after Season 2's final episode, when Season 1, Episode 1, he's obviously in the capture, and he has like this bug that's trying to get into his memories and find out how he created the pool gun, and he fabricated a backstory, which most of the backstory is real. I'm assuming he just fabricated the part where he made the pool gun and what he said out loud and all that. Honestly, that scene back then was really good, and also considering this wasn't where they upload a season every year, they put out a season every year. Now we're doing that. This took a while to sit in, and a lot of theories theorized it or whatever. And honestly, this episode is all in all good and everything. And then the side part of this episode is this is the first time we see Morty's original dimension, the Kronberg Jerry dimension, or Kronberg dimension, where all the family's still alive, of course, because it's early in the seasons. And this is what Morty's showing Summer what his former dimension was like, his former home was like. And then they end up getting captured by Rogue Ricks. They end up getting captured by Ricks and all that. I believe in this episode they do kill the rest of the family, but I may be wrong. I actually can't remember. But they end up getting captured by not Rogue Ricks, the council, and then Rick ends up swapping bodies consistently, and then end up basically taking down the council in this episode. And then there was a face-off between one of the council's members and Rick, and basically he ends up they end up taking Summer hostage, and then Morty shoots Rick or whatever with a fake gun, which Morty didn't know. And then Rick shoots the council member, and then they go home and celebrate. A great episode. I feel like at the time, this episode was definitely really good. It's a good opening to a season, in my opinion. A great opening. So episode 4, number 4 in this list, he does deserve it. And it's also just because it's speaking to our nostalgia of Rick and Morty, because back here I was just enjoying Rick and Morty content. Going in at number 3 is Fear No Mort. Now in this episode, basically it's the whole episode is the whole. I know a lot of people don't like this episode because it takes away Morty's fear, which is basically his fear of relying on Rick, just he's consistently relying on Rick and all that. That was the overtake of this episode, I believe. Well, that's what they said his fear was. Basically, in this episode, I feel like majority of everyone thought Rick was in the hole, but he wasn't. By the end of the episode, we do find that out. Basically, in this episode, we actually get to see Rick and Diane spend time together, which is so great. It's the first time we've ever seen that, even if it wasn't really our Rick, it was Morty's imagination of losing Rick or whatever to, what's going on here. So, yeah, that's kind of bringing it up. And like I said, the whole episode is Morty consistently saying, this isn't my fear, it's probably your fear. But, by the end, we realized Rick isn't in the hole. It took me a while to realize. I didn't realize exactly when they showed us. But I realized, when they were talking about, Morty's fear in the little bathroom by the hole, whatever. That's when I was like, okay, he's not even in the hole, is he? Because realistically, we didn't see him jump down, so it makes sense. And then, basically, this whole episode is great. I know people fear that now in season 8, Morty will be less reliant on Rick, and which will cause a bit of odd tension between the characters and all that. It wouldn't feel the same. But season 8 trailers, I feel like it is basically the same. If anything, Morty's probably less fear, which makes him probably a better character. And by the end of it, we get a cute moment with Rick basically putting Morty's picture on the wall, and that's where season 7 ends. Honestly, a great season 7 ending. I know a lot of people wanted to get hyped for season 8, but at the same time, it's a great season 7 ending, and I don't even know if season 8 is going to have an overall plot to it. We'll have to find out, though. This is my second most favourite episode of Rick and Morty as it stands right now. Season 6, episode 7, Full Meta Jack Rick. In this episode, basically, it's a whole fourth wall break episode. It starts with, previously on Rick and Morty. Basically, just going through the whole thing. And then they end up bringing through the fourth wall into other thing. I'm assuming Rick's been there before, just by how he's talking and stuff. He ends up, basically, his whole, superheroes powers, flashback, etc., like that. Or continuity. Basically, there's a whole lot of superpower people who want to get against Rick, lock him up or do stuff, whatever, and basically have a grudge against Rick. And then he ends up freeing Brat, I think his name is, or Brad. I don't know, this random person who everything he says is basically the truth. This this building has always been an orange. Honestly, one of the best superpowers, I think, in general fiction. Like, even, like, people I don't even know who talk about Rick and Morty or know who even watched the show, I'm hearing them talk about this episode just because of how good it was. It was a great episode all in all, and then we also got the people from the train back again, the whole like train and Jesus and all that, and he ends up meeting the people who made the train toy story or whatever, and he wants to improve. All that is great. The main bit about this episode is that the power up guy, the guy who's everything. There was one scene where he said, "Your bones, you've always had no bones," or something, and this person just flops at Jay, or "You've always been allergic or melted by coffee or whatever or tea," throws at him, dies. He's such like an overpowered character, and I really hope they do bring him back. Like, honestly, all in all, the episode's really good. I do like the whole actual story of the episode and the flow of it. It works really well. This guy's been on screen for like 2 minutes at most, and he's taken like the best character and one of the best characters in Rick and Morty for me. I really do hope he comes back. That's the reason this is number second, and it's a season 6 episode. Number second is because of that reason in general. The whole like story of Jesus returning and Train Guy, I'm really glad we picked up on that, because what was that like? That was like what, season 3, give or take. It was on this episode list. I believe it was like season like 5. No, it was like season 2 or something. I can't remember. But yeah, honestly, a great episode that it deserves to be number 2. Coming in at number 1 is season 2 episode 4, Total Recall. This is one of the main episodes I will come back to Rick and Morty just to watch for a good laugh. It's a great episode. We get introduced to a bunch of characters that we will probably never see again. They even changed the opening scene, I think, introducing these characters in. Basically, the plot of this episode is these parasites have infiltrated the home because someone's bringing it in on their like feet or whatever, stepped on something. And then they can infiltrate your memories, basically, and that they were always part of your family. So there's a whole thing. He even makes a reference saying, "Oh, it's like a Where's a Wally page or whatever." I used to love those books, by the way. And basically, these memories can only have good memories. They can't be bad memories. So they can't make any bad memories. They're going to make good memories. So they end up finding it. This is also the episode we get introduced to Mr. Poopy Butthole at the end of the episode. Basically, Beth thinks he's fake, which because we never saw him, we were at 50-50 on it. But he ends up shooting him, and Mr. People, surprise, is real. And honestly, it's just the episode that I keep coming back just to watch. This is a great episode, and it is the main like Rick and Morty episode for me. It's just all out there. There's nothing serious, but nothing like thingy. And like, you know, the whole like, I think this is the first episode where the whole family fights together too. I could be wrong about that. And season 2, I will say season 1 and 2 for me aren't really like story focused. There obviously is something in season 1 simply because they have that whole Evil Morty episode. But season 2 and 1 are like the main like Rick and Morty adventures for me, and then you get to more serious stuff and still have adventures, but more serious stuff later on in the seasons. And this episode is just a whole wacky episode. Like I said, a great episode, and Beth immediately going to drinking after she shoots a long-time friend, Mr. Bowl. Everyone was surprised, even Rick was shocked. But yeah, that's why it's number 1 for me. Okay, without further ado, that's all the episodes, all 13 episodes. It is a like random number, but I couldn't find like what episodes specifically numbered down to 5 or 10. All those episodes like are one of my favorite episodes of Rick and Morty. Of course, this could change. Like if I rewatch certain episodes and find more like the episode, I doubt it. But also because season 8 is coming out, and I'm hoping there's an episode that can replace some episodes on season 8. Because honestly, if season 8 has a great episode, it might replace someone on this, or I might make a 15 tier list and just like move them around. I don't know. Yeah, but I might replace some of this, and maybe I'll probably, like I said, I will be doing reviews on all these episodes of season 8. It comes out in about 8 days, 7 days, give or take. When it does drop, I will be doing a video in each review. I think they'll probably drop once a week or whatever, and there'll be 10, so like what, about 2 months, give or take. 2 months and 2 weeks of episode, just me doing a review a week. So yes, keep in mind I'll be doing Rick and Morty reviews. And without further ado, I'll see you guys next time. Subscribe to all that great stuff, because honestly, Rick and Morty content might be up because maybe I'll make theories or whatever on upcoming Rick and Morty stuff, and definitely after, if there's end up becoming any lore episodes in Rick and Morty season 8, I'll definitely do some theories or talk about some of the stuff at the very least. And yeah, Rick and Morty is just so great in my opinion. It's been going for so long, and I think they're gonna at least, I feel like they'll at least do 10 seasons, and if not, they'll make it go further. Because now they're doing like Rick and Morty season every year, but I thought it was like every like 3 years, every 2 years. They didn't really have a scheduled release date because of course, I think it wasn't like as professional thingy. It was still like really good, but like of course it wasn't like, they wanna put it out every year, but now LZ pushing it to be out every year. In my opinion, I feel like it's the best Adult Swim actual show, but that's just my opinion, of course. I can't wait till Rick and Morty season 8 drops, and without further ado, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.